From Phase 4's disappointing box office performance to a shocking revelation that could force the studio to axe its biggest star, here's why Marvel's future is in trouble. Phase 4 might have earned a nice chunk of change at the box office, but it came nowhere near the success of Phase 3. Look, we all knew that Phase 3 marked the end of an era, and that the MCU had its work cut out for it while rolling out Phase 4. But even so, Phase 4 brought in under $6 billion, and while that might seem impressive, Phase 3 raked in twice as much. To be fair, Phase 4 didn't have an Avengers movie to rely on, and those tend to earn over $1 billion. Easy. So it's easy to see why the MCU didn't break any records after that. A sudden drop in earnings like that is certainly alarming, and it might have made sense if only one of their movies fell flat, but this is a pattern that's been repeated time and time again. The cracks first started to appear with Black Widow.
It's pretty surreal. I mean, this where we find Natasha in her life at this point,
which was supposed to be Scarlett Johansson's send-off. It was supposed to be the biggest film of the year, but unfortunately, Disney had other plans in mind and used the film to promote its streaming service instead.
Who's behind this?
It started to look like Disney Plus is causing way more trouble than it's worth. The MCU's been trying to branch out into streaming shows, and at least for now, it's not going well. The first crop of MCU shows were solid, and WandaVision served as an excellent epilogue to Endgame. It gave us the chance to say our goodbyes to Vision, launching a brand new storyline for Wanda that took the character in exciting new directions. The hit series Loki kept things going too, introducing the character of Kang in an interesting way. But from there, things started to go downhill fast. Another highly anticipated series was She-Hulk, but in the end, fans were left confused by what they got. I wasn't the only one who felt that way.
No, I'm doing this.
Okay, this is completely new territory.
Almost every fan reaction to She-Hulk's been negative, and other shows like Moon Knight did a great job of telling a unique story, but it lacked the connection to the MCU that fans crave. This goes to show that the MCU's biggest strength might have turned into its biggest weakness. On top of that, the interconnected MCU's getting tougher to follow, between a jam-packed slate of new film releases and countless shows making their way to Disney Plus. Fans are starting to feel overwhelmed. After all, there are only so many hours in a day, and following the MCU's ever-expanding universe can feel like a full-time job.
Glorious.
That's a far cry from the thrilling escapism of the first few phases. Even though everything was also connected back then, each film and TV show could stand on its own. But now, good luck enjoying Quantumania if you haven't seen Loki first. And I'd imagine watching Hawkeye would be confusing if you haven't seen Black Widow. And then there's the elephant in the room. The one thing the MCU's desperately trying to avoid: superhero fatigue. There's no denying the MCU's had a great run. We've had over a decade and a half of edge-of-your-seat entertainment from the studio, and they clearly developed an incredible formula that worked, at least for a time. But something tells me that heyday might be over. Sure, the superhero genre still has legs.
This is it! Tell everyone to hang on! Brace yourself!
Thanks to films like 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but the MCU might be past its prime, especially if it's only giving us repackaged, repurposed versions of the same film we've seen 1,000 times. There's also a clear decline in quality that's getting harder and harder to ignore. By MCU standards, half of phases 4 and 5 seemed subpar, and 2021's Eternals was the first truly bad Marvel movie.
You've never had to fight me.
But I've always wanted to.
That's disappointing, because it had so much going for it. Had it been done right, it could have launched a brand new superhero team, one that could have played a major role in the rest of the MCU. Instead, what we got was an underwhelming movie with a grim plot and barely any payoffs. Even Academy Award-winning screenwriter and director Taika Waititi, who gave us the best Thor movie of all time with Ragnarok, couldn't work his magic with Love and Thunder. It was a disaster and more like a parody rather than a true MCU film.
Let me be the first to say it is an honor and a privilege to be here.
No, I can't hear you. Why don't you take the stage?
None of the jokes landed. They wasted an amazing chance with Christian Bale playing the villain, and Natalie Portman's return was handled terribly. And then of course there's 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. To be blunt, I want my 2 hours and 4 minutes back. Look, I know Ant-Man's not exactly a standard MCU hero.
Or Ant-Man resonates with Marvel fans. It might be the fact that he is a regular guy.
But that's the very thing that makes him so lovable. Quantumania could have capitalized on that if it had only stayed true to the character, instead of trying to act like an Avengers movie. Nothing about the film worked, and Disney lost billions because of it. I can't imagine what the execs at Disney headquarters are going through. Now it seems like all hell's broken loose at the company. Disney started firing top-ranking MCU execs. But don't worry, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige's doing just fine.
Tonight is the beginning of Phase 5 for people who are tracking along with our phases, which I certainly hope everybody watching this is.
Everyone else, though, is worried about their jobs, because it's clear that Disney's not messing around here. They fired 17-year MCU veteran Victoria Alonso, who was president of the post-production, animation, VFX, and who knows what else. If someone as high-ranking as Alonso can lose their job, nobody's safe from the unemployment line, except maybe their golden boy, Kevin Feige. In fact, things have gotten so bad that the king himself, Disney's chief executive officer, Bob Iger, has started to take notice. He's speaking out about how he wants the MCU to change, and you know things are getting bad when the CEO comes out to say a few words. Iger's been pretty hands-off with the MCU, but now, that's a thing of the past. Bob's been a core part of Disney's 21st century success, and thinks Marvel's focusing too much on sequels. In Iger's opinion, there's no need to give a film a third or fourth sequel, and man, I am happy to hear that. He's gone on record saying that the MCU needs to be freshened up, which is all well and good, but suddenly, out of nowhere, the MCU had to deal with a curveball that no one could have expected. Did you know that Quantumania star Jonathan Majors was recently arrested? Yet another big-name male celebrity facing legal troubles for domestic abuse and assault against a woman. Not cool. Nothing's been proven as of yet, but he's been arraigned on harassment and assault charges. Now that is bad publicity. To make matters worse, Majors' MCU character, Kang the Conqueror, is slated to be in 2016's Avengers Secret Wars. It's clear that the MCU was banking on Majors as their new star, but his alleged crimes have put this prospect in jeopardy. There might still be some hope for the future. Maybe they'll recast Kang and explain it away with some multiverse jargon, but it's gonna be a tough sell. If you thought Disney and Marvel's execs were scrambling before, wait until you see what happens next. Heads are gonna roll. And fans will be the ones who suffer in the end. The thing is, there's no clear path forward for the MCU, and most of their recent experiments have failed. People aren't showing up to buy tickets the way they used to, and the big setup for the biggest Avengers film yet is off to a bad start. So there you have it. From Phase 4's disappointing box office performance to a shocking revelation that could force the studio to axe its biggest star. That's why Marvel's future is in trouble.